About 2 years ago, precisely on December 15th, 2023, I uploaded this video that you see on the screen to thank GM Daniel Naroditsky, aka Danya, for teaching me how to counter the King's Gambit with his brilliant C6 preparation. Since then, it's been my go-to weapon against that opening, so it's still hard to believe he's gone far too soon at just the age of 29. We were the same age, born in 1995, same with Levi Roseman, Gotham Chess, I guess. Danya was more than a chess teacher to me, and honestly, he was one of the people who inspired me to start making YouTube chess videos. So today I dedicate this video to him in gratitude for how deeply he inspired and shaped my chess journey. May his soul rest in peace. So what follows is a compilation of both my old and new videos inspired by his teaching. Let me know what you think about Danya, and feel free to share your amazing experiences or what you learned from him. Recently, I came across one of Danya's YouTube videos, or rather a live stream, where he was crushing his opponent with a move pawn to c6. At first, I didn't fully understand the logic behind this move, but later on, I came to realize it's a similar strategy with my d6 recommendation. Just to show you, for example, if white foolishly takes the e5 pawn, we can simply go queen h4 check. Again, if pawn to g3, there comes queen takes e4 check, and on the next move, white will surely lose a free rook on h1. If queen e2, for example, I can just take the rook after knight to f3. First of all, our queen is not going to be trapped. In other words, black is completely winning, but it can be tricky to save the queen from h1. That's why you need to watch this video up to the end so that you know how to save this queen. We can see that our queen is almost trapped. It can't move, it can't escape from Sobibo. And if white can find a way of unpinning his light squared bishop, maybe by putting the king on d2 after moving the d pawn, our queen can easily be trapped with a move bishop g2. So in this case, the best continuation is pawn to d5. Here you're just trying to pave way for your light squared bishop. If something like pawn to d4 with the idea of putting the king on d2 and playing bishop g2. Here you can just go bishop g4 and pin that knight. First of all, the light squared bishop is still pinned to the king. If something like knight bd2, we'll just continue pushing the pawns. I mean, the bishop is still pinned. Let's say king f2, trying to do this. You know what? This would be a sheer waste of time because of knight d takes f3. So the way you save your queen is by going pawn to h4. If bishop g2 comes, there you go, h takes g3 with check. And if hg happens, now you can safely rescue your queen to h7. Or let's say if white plays king takes g3, well, thanks to this pin, because now queen takes h2 is possible, supported by your h rook. If knight takes h2, nice, because you're going to take back your queen with a better pawn structure and a passed pawn. So that's one of the many ways in which you can rescue your queen after capturing a free rook on h1 somewhere here. Anyway, after c6 and f takes e5, again you just remember to go queen h4 check, and we saw what happened if white plays pawn to g3. You go queen takes e4 check. If king e2, nice, you just made white lose his right to castle, and again you can simply go queen takes e4 check. The king has to go to f2 only move, and now you go bishop c5 check. Again, if d4, you have bishop takes d4 check. If king g3, only sensible move. Once again, it's now up to you to think of a better winning strategy. Bishop takes e5 check is okay, but speaking of strategy, you want to send more troops to your enemy's territory. Knight e7 with an intention of going knight f5 check next, and maybe mate white like this. So there are many ways to kill a rat, you guys. And this was all in the f takes e5 after pawn to c6 on move number 2. So this is just the same idea with my d6 recommendation, but I think I love Danya's recommendation pawn to c6 even more because it just looks more matured and more aggressive. So we saw how bad f takes e5 is. What if white plays the top played move knight to f3? Well, after this, you are at liberty to come up with any strategy that works for you. What I don't like is teaching my students to memorize moves, because chess is 99% tactics. It's all about the tactics that you come up with, your own strategies. So if you want, you can take on f4, that's okay, but that will lead to an equal position. And if something like pawn to d4, also paving way for their dark squared bishop, you can just go knight to f6 as if nothing happened. attacking this pawn. If pawn to e5, for example, you can go knight d5 in this position. If pawn to c4, attacking your knight once again. First of all, this is an overextension. You can go knight b6, but bishop b4 is even more dangerous, because if knight c3, you're gonna take and on the next move win the rook on a1. Or if white doesn't do this, let's say they go knight b d2 or bishop d2, you can simply go knight e3. These are all tactics that anyone can see. Very easy to spot. Don't even argue with me, as I know what I'm talking about. This bishop can't take the knight because it is pinned by our dark squad bishop. So something like queen a4, there's no check here. We can just take the bishop on d2 with check, and after knight b takes d2, this is when we can go pawn to d6, trying to open up some more lines and also paving way for our light squad bishop. This is okay. So this is what I meant by avoiding to memorize moves. You can play anything that makes sense. Learn to come up with your own strategies rather than following everything that the author of that book taught you. Anyway, but speaking of Daniel's repertoire, I saw him playing this way after knight to f3 on move number 3. Instead of taking, he was playing pawn to d5, which is more aggressive and tricky, by the way. The idea is that if e takes d5, because that's what people do whenever they see d5, you simply go pawn to e4 first, attacking this knight, and if queen e2 pinning that pawn to the king, you go c takes d5, you fix your pawns, and after pawn to d3, I love pawn to f4 for some reason, then followed by knight to f6, but knight f6 here is the typical response to d3. And it's fine, since white doesn't even have bishop g5, so knight f6 makes a lot of sense. After de, you just take back with your pawn, and in this position you are not bad, you are good. You can play bishop e7 and castle shot. Next, develop your knight. I don't even know what you can do here. But after pawn to d5, let's say f takes e5. Once again, you can just go de, attacking the knight like for real. There is no queen e2 because we are attacking the knight, so the knight better goes back. And now you're in total control. You can go knight d7 if you want to start with, just attacking this pawn. If something like queen e2, you can just take the e5 pawn if you want, or just go queen h4 first. If pawn to g3, this is when you go queen e7, and after something like queen takes, you also take the e5 pawn with your knight because you want to do a little discovery. After something like knight to f6, and it's even difficult for white to move his queen from this square. Okay, let's just say bishop e2, or you can simply go knight to f6, and if queen g2, just as an example, here comes bishop f5, now attacking this pawn. If pawn to d3, I can even castle long if I want, because I'm just ahead in development, and continue playing normal chess from here. So once again, back to our initial position. After white plays the top played move, knight to f3, it's up to you to take the f4 pawn, but I highly recommend that you follow what Danya recommended, pawn to d5, because this is more aggressive. And instead of e takes d5 or f takes e5, if this time white plays knight takes e5, you can just take the e4 pawn. What else can you do? After bishop c4 double attacking your f7 pawn, you always have knight h6. See that white doesn't have bishop takes h6, so you're good to go. And if knight c3, you simply go pawn to f6. Why pawn to f6? You don't want to entertain your enemy's pieces in your territory. This is your territory right here. So that knight better goes back. By the way, it looks like this knight is almost trapped, and white should be very careful, because if something like queen h5 check, you can simply go pawn to g6, and there's no way out for this knight. If this happens, you can just take back, and after queen takes g6 check, you have king e7, and maybe after knight takes e4, preparing for queen takes f6 check, you have queen d4, protecting your f6 pawn. If pawn to c3, you simply go queen takes c4. It looks like white can mate you, but in all variations, this is just a dream. In fact, there are no more checks at this point. If pawn to d3, you can just go queen takes d3. There's absolutely nothing. And if you're looking at queen takes h8, this is nothing, because we can just grab that free knight as well, pushing the king to f1. Then we play king e8. Game over. This, in an effort to pin our queen, doesn't work due to queen d3 check first. There are so many things that you can do. If king e1 or king g1, it doesn't matter. You simply go bishop g4. this is coming, this is coming. There is no checkmate for white or whatsoever. But let's say white plays knight c3 in this position, attacking your e4 pawn. Well, in this position, you still don't want this, right? You don't want to entertain your enemy's pieces in your territory. You can just go knight b d7, so that if this happens, you just get rid of white's knight and you simply go queen d4. Remember what you're doing in the Ruy Lopez, simply attacking the knight and the pawn on e5. But this time white may play queen e2, defending the knight, and you can take the e5 pawn if you want. White won't be able to win your free queen. I mean, you just take back, and if this you don't take back with your knight because they are going to take your free queen, so you take with your g pawn like this. So this is okay, but I'm sure it's not going to happen. You're not going to see this happening in your games. Anyways, now, what if white tries to play solidly after knight f3 and pawn to d5, then next knight to c3? Well, the rule of thumb in these kinds of positions, or to be specific, in the fork beer counter gambit, is that you are supposed to take the f4 pawn. To simplify the game, you better take the f4 pawn like this, and after e takes d5, you simply take back with your c pawn. If bishop b5 check, you go knight c6. I mean, most of these stuff are self-explanatory. Rook e1 check can be met with bishop e6 if you want, or bishop e7 followed by castle shot. If pawn to d4, you can go bishop e7 if you want, or bishop d6, holding on to your pawn. If rook e1, you have bishop e6, or even king f8 instead of bishop e6. Anything is playable here. Anyways, so for you to play this line successfully, you need to be more aggressive, because the king's gambit in its nature is an aggressive gambit. So I just finished playing 2 exciting games that I'm going to show you after this quick analysis. And today's lesson is about the King's Gambit. I mean, how to fight the King's Gambit using Danya's top recommendation, pawn to c6. What's with this move? This kinda looks like the fork beer counter gambit, in that we wait for white to blunder by taking on e5. For example, after d5 and e takes d5, the top played move in the Lichess database, now we have queen h4 check, and if pawn to g3 is played again, the top played move, this is when you go queen takes e4 check, and obviously white can't block this with his elbow or with his toes. They usually do it with the queen, after which you now grab a free rook on h1 like this. They may try to trap your queen after knight f3, but hey, you have bishop g4, and even if they play king f2, the simplest you can do here, other than going bishop c5 check, is just to oversimplify things like this, just to avoid any sorts of tactics. Cause after all the transactions, it turns out that white is just down a full piece and you emerged with a better position. And this is the same idea even in this c6 line, which doesn't seem to have a name at the moment. I'm calling it Danya's anti-king's gambit, since he was the first one to recommend it, followed by myself, I guess. Anyway, so the idea is still the same. After c6, you just want to go pawn to d5. But should white take on e5 once again, you have this same move, queen h4 check, with the same ideas. This is even better according to Danya. But wait a second. Say, what if white plays king e2? Same stuff, you just go queen takes e4 check. This time they have to play king f2, after which you have bishop c5 check, forcing them to go king g3 or pawn to d4. Let's just say king g3 equals what else? And now you go knight e7. By the way, you can also take on e5 first, but I just find knight e7 to be sharp, because next you want to give a check like this. For example, after queen f3, you have knight e7 check, and then probably met your opponent like this. So this is just a little trap in the c6 response against the king's gambit that I want to demonstrate in today's games. By the way, I'm recording this after playing 2 exciting games that I'm about to show you guys. But you know what? Not all days are Mondays. In fact, most people don't even take on e5 in anticipation of this move. So they first play knight f3, after which you can either take on f4 if you want, or simply go pawn to d5, the move that Danya also recommended. I play this all the time as well, and the idea is if d takes, which is kind of a mistake, you simply go e4 and then connect your center pawns. f5 comes later in the game. And again, f takes e5 is almost a blunder in all the variations due to d takes e4 attacking the knight, and here white needs to find the only correct move, knight g1, and developing his knight. Obviously knight d4 runs into queen takes. So after knight g1, this is when you can play all sorts of things like bishop c5 is a fair move, even knight d7, just trying to get back this pawn, right? So you go knight d7. I don't know why, but most white players play pawn to d4 in this position, but here you can just take with en passant, and after bishop takes, this is when you recapture on e5 with your knight. Fair game is not just about quick traps and quick mating traps, it's also about playing positional chess, and it's here where most white players play knight f3, and it's up to you to take on d3 so that you take away your opponent's bishop pair, or just continue with moves like bishop g4. This is also fine. I've lost many games in this variation. No, I'm just joking. After something like queen e2, pinning your knight to the king, you can simply go bishop d6, developing a piece with tempo. Say pawn to h3, because what else? Now you take on f3, and obviously they can't take with the queen due to knight takes, so they take with the pawn. And now behold this same move, queen h4 check. And see this, you guys, if queen e2 blocking the check, now you can simply go knight takes d3, and after pawn takes, you simply put your bishop on g3, pinning the queen to the king. Anyways, this is just one of the lines that may happen against the king's gambit if you try Danya's c6 response or my improved c6 response. Now it's time to see how the games went against my human opponents. Right into the game against a 21-27 rated opponent. Let's see what my opponent is going to play. You guys, today I'm in high spirits, so I hope the game will go well. So I'm planning to go knight c6. Oh, pawn to f4, the king's gambit. So what can I play against this f4 move? I want to play the fork, be a counter gambit, but let me just try Danya's move, pawn to c6. So this comes with a little trap to win white's rook. There we see my opponent is playing very fast. Knight f3. Should I take on f4? No. The plan is to go pawn to d5. d5 if pawn takes. Yep. So anyways, white wasn't supposed to take on d5 because that allows me to go pawn to e4. I'm not saying that is losing, but it's just too risky for white to take on d5. That allows e4, attacking the knight. So white has to do something about his knight. Most of my opponents here play queen e2. Queen e2 pinning my pawn to the king, after which I like going bishop e7. Sometimes knight f6, so just pawn takes. Knight f6, so let me just go cd. Just connecting my center pawns. d3, I can just play f5 so that if pawn takes, I take back with my f pawn. Knight c3. Now I can play knight f6 or bishop b4. Bishop b4 looks more attractive. You know, the idea is just to have two connected pawns on the center. That makes my life easier. So let's see what white is going to do. Pawn takes, I can take back with my f pawn. Yep. And then knight f6 is coming next, followed by castle shot. Look at how beautifully placed my center pawns are. If queen b5, I have knight c6, not losing my dark squared bishop. So knight e7. I could have also played knight f6 if I wanted, by the way. So white castled long. Wait. No, I can take the knight. Yeah, castle long was just a mistake, you guys. So white just hung his knight on f3. Anyways, that was a terrible blunder. Maybe some kind of a miscalculation because I just grabbed a free piece. Queen b5 check. I can just protect my bishop like this. Pop. Knight bc6. Protecting my king as well as my dark squared bishop. So I have any problems at all. So white just forgot about his knight on f3. And that's how I took it for free, by the way. So bishop d3, a6. Chasing the queen away. I can play b5, but first let me take on g2, I think. Attacking the rook. Rook g1, now I can hold on to my pawn. And then pawn to b5 is coming next. Just ensuring that none of my opponent's pieces are in my territory. So pawn to b5. By the way, white played f5 and then pawn to b5. And now queen b3. What can I do next? Castle short. Castle short. Okay, bishop e4 is a clever move. White knows I can't take his last squad bishop due to the pin. So what can I do here? Maybe knight d4. Knight d4 attacking his queen. And then on the next move after queen takes bishop, I take his last squad bishop. Yep. So that's just what happened. And now I'm just thinking of simplifying things. Bishop e3 attacking my knight. Well, it's too late now. I can just go knight e6. So knight e6 defending everything. Next I'm planning to go queen f6 though. There is knight d5. Should be careful of that. My knight on c6 is attacking white's queen, by the way. Okay, now that's a blunder. Queen a3, I can just go pawn to b4, double attacking the knight and the queen. Now I can capture the free knight. Yep. Oh, my knight is pinned on d4. So, okay, check. And then next I'm going to take on c3 and go queen b8. Check. Probably I'm going to mate anytime soon. Yep. So, it is what it is. Knight takes c3 check. Double attacking everything. The queen and the rook. Oh, this is a triple fork. So white has to be very... Oh, by the way, I didn't notice that my opponent resigned, but it is what it is. Okay, a nice game so far. This was the King's Gambit, by the way. Hey, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe. I would love to play another King's Gambit game, but it's very difficult for me to find another King's Gambit opponent because most people like playing either the Italian game or just a Queen's Pawn game. So let's see what will follow up. Stay tuned for the next game. Right. So now let me see how most 1600s would play the King's Gambit against my c6 response. So to do this, I'm going to give this position to Maya, which was trained to play like a human opponent, rated about 1600. And this is different from an engine. Why am I using Maya again? Because it's just difficult to find another opponent who plays the King's Gambit. So that answers your question. If you want to practice through a certain opening, Maya is a great choice. Make use of it. Right. Time to hurt Maya's feelings. Now, I just gave it the King's Gambit position, ready to go pawn to c6 next. Yeah, Maya is playing so fast. So there we see knight f3. If you remember very well, this is what my human opponent also played. The plan is to go d5, not d6. So d5, my human opponent took on d5. Yep, just like Maya. So e4, attacking the knight. So Maya is playing very fast in the opening stage. There we see queen e2. It's time to take on d5. That's what I did in my previous game against a real human opponent. And pawn to d3 was also played. So it's time to go pawn to f5, I guess. Just connecting my center pawns so that if d takes e4, I can take back with my f pawn. So the plan is to go f5, ladies and gentlemen and babies. Oh god. f5. So yeah, d takes e4, f takes e4, knight c3. Yeah, this is a typical behavior by Maya. These bots like playing very fast in the opening stage, but as the game progresses, they start playing very slow. That's when they start thinking. Bishop e2 by white. I think we saw this move as well in my previous game. Yeah, I played knight e7. Okay, but Maya here has played knight e5. In the game, my opponent played castle long, which was a mistake because that allowed me to take the free knight on f3. So what Maya has done here is to move away his knight from danger so that after castle long, I may not take his knight on f3. So let's see what I can do here. Maybe castle short. Oh wait, castle short runs into this tactic where white takes on d2 later on. So let me just play something like bishop takes c3 first. Yep, so bishop takes, and now I can just play castle short. Okay, yeah, now it's safe to castle short in this position. Yeah, my rook is now targeting the a4 pawn. White should be very careful. Castle long, but I can just take the f4 pawn, right? Or knight c6 first. Okay, yeah, it doesn't even matter. So, what next? Knight takes, simplifying the game. And then next, I'll just put my last squad bishop on a6. Yeah, like bishop e6. Next, rook ac8. Rook smile on open files. There we see queen b5 by white. Something that I anticipated. Something that I saw coming. So, what can I do here? You know, if I want, I can just, sacrifice my b7 pawn to open up my queen side. That will be useful later in the end game. So what can I do here? Maybe knight c6. Yeah, knight back c6. The intention is to take white's dark squared bishop. Yeah, this is a very bad move because it allows me to capture the dark squared bishop, and then after pawn takes I go rook b8. Yeah, so Maya rushed with queen takes b7, which was dubious. Yeah, now pawn takes rook b8. Yeah, that's another blunder. Queen takes a7 allows me to go rook a8, targeting the a2 pawn. So I'm just gonna take that pawn for free as well. So you see what I'm talking about, clearing the queen side where I intend to launch an attack. Yeah, so now queen d4, now I can take on a2 with my rook. Yep, so this is clearly winning for me. If king b1, I have queen a5 and rook a1 checkmate. Then we see bishop c4, another tactical move. Maya knows I can't take the light squared bishop on c4 due to queen takes d8 and after rook takes. So this is a clever move anyways. Nice try, check. So let me just oversimplify things. In fact, that was even a blunder because this allows me to oversimplify the game like this. So I'm gonna take the rook. Yeah, rook takes d1 check, and after rook takes or king takes, this is when I'm gonna take the last squad bishop on c4. And true, this is how most 16 androids play. They like making one movers. Most people at this level don't go deep in analysis. They just make one line and then start hoping for their opponent not to see their mistake. But that's not how you should play chess. So this is even worse, you guys, because I have bishop g4 check, and on the next move I'm going to win a free piece. I was hoping Maya would play something like king e1. Yeah, so now take the rook. Next, I grab all the pawns for free, and you know what I'm planning to do here is to limit Maya's movements. I don't want Maya to take any of my pawns. Yeah, so next king e6, and then just paralyze his position. Let me go h5 first, stopping pawn to g4 because I'm just gonna take, obviously, and then I can go king e6 now, or pawn to g6 first, just ensuring that every pawn is defending every pawn. I want to punish Maya for her mistakes. Now I have rook d4 coming. Yeah, let me go rook d4 or take the pawn, or just rook d4, then rook g4 check and start winning all the pawns. Yep, I'm just showing you how to punish trash talkers. Yeah, even though Maya was not trash talking, but just having fun with my hands and my elbow. I'm just going to grab everything that Maya has. So next I'll play something like rook h2. Yeah, like rook h2 or check, then rook g2 next. Oh no, after king h6 I'll go king f6. Yeah, so king f6, keeping white's king in the box. Now rook g2, because the idea is to grab the b2 pawn. Yeah, so I'm just having fun, you guys. This all is not necessary. If I want, I can mate Maya like in 2 moves, but I'm just having fun. Yeah, now it's time to promote my h pawn. Right, fast forward to the end game. Be sure to hit the like button and subscribe. Great. Another game. Okay, this was awesome. Oh. Okay, so e5 again, hoping to play the 2 knights defense. The king's gambit. Okay, I think this has come at the right time. Let me play the fork beer counter gambit. So this is how you guys should be playing against the king's gambit. After pawn takes, I now take the pawn, the other pawn on f4. Now I can go g5, planning to go g4 next. Okay, d4, I can go g4, attacking the knight. Yep, I think that's the way to go. So this is called the fork beer counter gambit. So now I can give him a check, right? I can give him a check on, there's nothing on f7, yeah. Check. So the king has to move. Now what should I do? I want to go pawn to f3 check, but first of all I need to chase white's knight away from e5. So I should play something like pawn to f6. Yep, chasing the knight away, and then I play pawn to f3 with check. If pawn takes, I mean if g3, I'll take the pawn and take the rook on h1. So white has to move at least, maybe, I mean if he goes back, I'll play pawn to f. Okay, so they just gave up a piece because things are already bad. So I'm now attacking the bishop. Can I tweak him one more time? Maybe I go pawn to g3, cause I want to go bishop g4 check, winning the queen. Yep, I guessed that he was going to play that. Now I can safely win the queen. I know that wasn't objectively the best move, but I just wanted to trick him, eat him, and go home. Oh, okay, so opponent just resigned. Now check this out, you guys. If you want to learn more about these kinds of tricks or similar opening ideas like the ones I just shared, you can watch this video that has popped up on the top left. Another video that I highly recommend you check out to skyrocket your rating is this one that has popped up on the top right. But if you love Gambit videos, you can check out the video that has popped up on the bottom left. And if you are a lover of chess traps like myself, feel free to click on the video that has popped up on the bottom right.